Good morning, everybody, and welcome in here to WagerTalk TV. This is PuckTime. I am Andrew. I have Carmine and Don Buster with me to break down three games today. We have Kings, Stars, Kraken, Rangers, Leafs, and Oilers. I feel like I always say it's a good set of games, but today really is a good set of games for us to break down. Looking forward to hearing what these guys have to say. Coming off a not so good day, more in football than hockey. Good start to the buy and sell segment, though, with Vegas getting a big win yesterday, getting back on track. But today is a new day. Hope you guys all had a big night last night, though. But Carm, we'll go to you, man. Kings and Stars. What do you think here, and how was your night?
Overall day was good. 3-1 in NFL, a couple props, and the Buffalo Bills, loser with the Eagles, and then 3-1 in NHL. So a good night there as well too. So we'll just try and keep it going. But a lot of really good games this weekend, and a good slate of games for Tuesday. This first one, Andrew, I had to put this on there because you know me with the LA Kings. This is a team that loses 8 in a row, including one for me, of course, on Saturday. And of all teams, for them to bounce back against, it's the Carolina Hurricanes in Carolina. They win 5-2 yesterday. Unfortunately, that empty netter at the end put the game over the total in that one. But just from an analytics point of view, Andrew, we had talked about this LA Kings team, and I talked about the fact that during this 8-game losing streak of theirs, they hadn't put together a game in which they were playing well analytically. They just weren't scoring the goals. Of the 8 games, if you go back and like you go to a site like Natural Stat Trick and you look at their analytic numbers in all situations for those 8 games, most of those games they finished with the better analytic XG number, but they just couldn't score. And you said it, a team that's struggling to score is a team you want to kind of stay off of. So I stayed off of that game yesterday, and now here we are, second of a back-to-back for the LA Kings. The Kings are 1-3-2 this season in the second of a back-to-back. The average goals scored in those games are one of the higher ones in the league in the second game of back-to-back. Exactly 6 goals scored in the second of back-to-back in any game featuring, obviously, the LA Kings. The Anaheim Ducks are actually one of the highest at 7.5, and then the Edmonton Oilers are right up there. But you know where I'm going here. The Dallas Stars, 19-4 to the over at home this season, and 14 straight games. It's 6.5, and it's even money on the over. Now you might say to yourself, "Why is it even money on the over?" It's because Dallas Stars home games are normally 6, but this season, because of the fact that there's been some scoring, and even with Ottinger in net, I know he was out for a while, and it was Wedgwood in goal. Even with Ottinger, there were some high scoring games because the Stars are scoring goals as well too. So you're not paying a premium other than the half goal, but the books are accounting for this run that they've been on and this overrun, 14 straight games for them. Even if it's Talbot and in Ottinger in goal tonight, it should be Ottinger for Dallas. You have to like the over in this game. It's one of those ones where, do you want to try and catch a falling knife or get in front of a train? You play it until it ends. And I just wish I'd been playing it more often. It would be much better for myself, my pocketbook, and my clients. But I'm taking the over tonight, and it's up on the site as a free play, and it's also a client play of mine. So that's the one client play I'll mention on the show. The only one I'm going to mention on the show. Over 6.5, even money for me in this one, and we'll see if the Kings can provide some scoring like they did last night. Five goals, even with an empty netter in Carolina, is their offense finally clicking. Buster, happy Tuesday, brother. What are your thoughts on this game?
Well, Carmine, yes, thank you very much. And thanks again, like always, for having me on the show on Tuesdays, guys. I appreciate it. Uh, I'm with you, brother, on that, on the over, but I'll just talk about the game first for people who want to maybe bet aside here. I think it's a very tough handicap. As you said, LA finally snapped that 8-game losing streak. Now, less than 24 hours later, almost that's really nasty scheduling spot for them to have to then play Dallas. And it's also going to be that dreaded third game in 4 nights for them. And it's also the last game of that 6-game road trip. This is just a horrific spot for LA. Just terrible. And the spot screams to bet Dallas. Here's my problem with betting Dallas here is that I don't really like the line. 140, it seems high. And that was a huge monkey off the back of LA. If you see, did you see Doughty in that after the game? Like those guys were, you could just tell like the relief. And I always like to play, and we'll talk about this on a later game. I do like playing teams after they lose after a long losing streak. I like to play them to when they win, then to play in the next game to win. This though, it's just a really bad spot to do that. It just seems really bad. Those guys that actually like playing draws, this might be a good draws. I don't do that, but this might be a good draw. But as you say, I'm with you on the over, brother. 17 of last 18 games that I have, I went back and counted the schedule has been over. You mentioned even 14 straight and all that. I mean, it's just crazy how these guys have played over. And even though LA is one of the best, I think Winnipeg took the lead on the goals against average, very minimal. But even that's the case, LA have gone over 4 of the last 6 games. So, and the Kings, like I say, they are one of the best defensive teams, but it's going to be tough for them to, or whether even they want to play defense, they might want to. And I mentioned, I think it was last week or maybe 2 weeks ago, I mentioned how I really believe LA should start playing a little bit more offensively because this whole defensive thing has not been working for them. But they did get 5 goals against Carolina. Maybe they go that way again tonight, try to score more goals. I think they do. Like I say, I do lean Dallas, but I just can't play them because of the streak finally broken for LA. But I'm with you, Carmine. Give me the over in this one. And also, one more thing. You might want to wait. You might get that 6 later on. So, like you said, it was 6.5 under 20. You might get some 6 this afternoon, so you might want to wait before you play that one.
All right, Buster with his thoughts on the Kings and Dallas. Andrew, we talk offline a lot, and I talk about like streaks. When you have a team like the Kings that have just lost 7 straight, or they had lost 8 straight games, and then they break that streak, it's like that monkey is off your back. And I'm a guy who normally one of the things I look at is I want to play them the next time out because they have now got a win. It's that little bit of a confidence building win, and you sort of look for a team to double up. And conversely, it's just like a team that plays at such a high intensity level because they're on a huge win streak, and then that streak ends, and I just want to play against them as well too. We saw it last year with some teams, Andrew, and those streaks that they had going. You look at, I think it was the Devils early on. As soon as they lose one, they drop a second one. It happens a lot. Is that something you even keep an eye on?
I think that there's streaks in 2 ways. It's a great point by you to look at, not just a streak when teams are losing, but it's about trying to get ahead of a winning streak. Yesterday, I fell short of 1 goal with the team total there with the Bruins, but I did say on the show yesterday, I expect the Bruins to get going. And so when you're looking at props, you're looking at sides or totals, you don't really want to jump in on a streak when it's already happened 8 times, 10 times. It's nice to be there when you're there early on. So I agree with you on that one. And jumping in on these streaks, I think that once you get that monkey off your back, Buster, when I heard Buster breaking down the game, everything that we're saying here is kind of giving us reasons why it's tough to play LA. But I just love that. I love that they just kind of snapped out of it yesterday and got that win. And let's not forget, guys, a lot of people that were crapping all over the Kings, including myself, I'll make that very clear, didn't realize that they were 0-4-4 during their streak. 4 of their games went to added time. So it's not like they were getting like absolutely destroyed in all of their games they were losing. They were almost losing just really close games every single time, and they couldn't get it together, which, once you finally snap out of it, you're pretty good. But Dallas as well, the funny thing is about them is sure that they've gone over, but a lot of it's due to their scoring. So I do think the LA Kings will get their scoring going as well. it's hard to argue an over in this game. Part of me really does want to take a stab here with the Kings. It's not really the price I'd love just based on how well this Dallas team has played at home. Carm, I stepped in front of the Dallas Stars in a certain way on Friday. You know how it went for me. I felt great for 2 periods, and then it blew up in my face on the 3rd period. But I think that when these two teams get together, no matter who wins, we're going to see some goals. So, but it is such a good point because I keep talking on the show about streaks, and I'm not saying you want to just blindly bet them, but when you see a team playing well, and that's why I do the buy and sell segment, right? That's why we do it, to try and look for teams to back or teams to bet against. And right now I can't speak for you guys, but after this 8-game losing streak, I'm looking for the Kings to probably get some life and get going again. But as Buster mentioned, the busy schedule, tough spot for them. I think Dallas keeps on scoring. And one thing about Dallas I'll mention, if you notice, they play hockey the right way. Every goal they score is not a top corner goal, not a perfect tic-tac-toe play. They score a mixture of garbage goals, shots from the point, shots from the face-off dot. They just play the right way. And I think LA has to get back to doing that as well. Sometimes they're a little bit too fancy. If you look at the teams that have success in the playoffs, they have players that are their, superstars, but also guys that can score. And Pete DeBoer, the head coach of the Stars, he was quoted saying in their last game, he said, our 4th line was our best line. That's a positive quote for a team that's actually playing pretty well. If your 4th line was your best line in a game, but I'm in agreement. I'm going to take the over as well. And I love that we're not really, we're laying a price here on this one. We're getting even money as mentioned. So I will take that one as well. We'll go with the over here, but I'll be very, very upset with myself if the Kings win like 4-1 or 4-2. So hopefully we get some goals here, guys. Buster, let's go to you for your thoughts on the. Go ahead.
Andrew,
go ahead,
I'm going to add one more thought. Andrew, I'm going to add one more thought before we get into the second game quickly. And listen, I get it. The price just isn't attractive enough. And I get it. They just broke a streak. They've been playing well, XG wise during that losing streak, but it finally worked out for them, where that translated into an actual goals on the ice, a win on the ice. It's just the fact that their record on back-to-backs are so bad. And I want to address someone in our comment section, Jake, who messaged me yesterday, but I was on the road, so I had to check on my phone. One of the things is we try and do on this show is, whether you agree or disagree with our leans or our plays or what have you, is we're trying to give you some input into like our thinking and some sites that we use to data mine and look for numbers. So like back-to-backs, you can Google it all you want. Some of the sites have disappeared. Some of the other stat sites just don't show it. The NHL site does actually show. You just got to go through the filter section. And maybe during the week, I'll get an image up there just to explain to you guys to look how to find the back-to-backs and the records, because there are some significant ones out there. And Andrew, I'll just mention some. The 3 best teams on back-to-backs, the New York Rangers, 7-0 this season on back-to-backs. Washington Capitals, 6-2-1 on back-to-backs. Nashville and Pittsburgh, 5-0 on back-to-backs in the second of a back-to-back. The worst teams, Chicago Blackhawks, 0-7 on back-to-backs. The New York Islanders, 0-2-3. The Calgary Flames, 0-4-1. They haven't won a game either. And then Montreal, which might surprise you or might not surprise you, but the New Jersey Devils, 1-7 in back-to-backs. The Devils, that people place as a good team as well too, 1-7. So you have to look at those. And I'm not saying that's the be all and end all. You see something 7-0, got to play this game. Use it as part of what you do to formulate what play you want to take. Add a few more analytic numbers into it, and then a little bit of what you see when you watch a team play, and lead you to where your gut is telling you to go, Andrew.
Yeah, good info there, Carmen. What I noticed out of those teams you mentioned, including the Canadians, is inexperience. A lot of people think that it should be age, like younger players that are playing better on second half of back-to-backs. It actually seems to me like the more experienced player or teams are the ones that are performing at a higher level in those back-to-back situations. So always informative to look at those numbers, and the 3 and 4, the back-to-back, all that good stuff. So Buster, we were just talking about streaks. And the Kraken just recently got their big streak broken of getting a point in so many games in a row. And now they're playing the Rangers here. So obviously going to be a little bit of a tough battle here. We're seeing minus 200 ballpark, though, for the New York Rangers. What are your thoughts on this matchup?
Yeah, Andrew, I just real quickly, I will touch on what Carmine said about he's going to dig into that stats thing. You could be an old guy like me and go to what I do. I go to the schedule and I just go back. If I'm interested in a game, go to the schedule. It'll show you September 22nd, September 23rd, and you can count how teams have done in back-to-backs. I know it takes a little bit of time, but that's what I do, just to make sure that I know I don't trust any other numbers or some stats that somebody has. I check right into it myself. So that's just me, a little old school. But yeah, you're right, Andrew. This Seattle, New York, Seattle was playing great there. They are playing great. You know, they just lost yesterday. But I do like the Rangers here. Not going to lay 200. We will lay the regulation line. I like the Rangers in regulation here. As I say, Seattle is coming here on a back-to-back after finally losing in Pittsburgh 3-0 yesterday. Less than 24 hours. They have to come to MSG and play a team that's historically really tough at home. And although this hasn't been a great year for them at home, I think they're still 14-6 at home. I think you're going to see them have a great second half of this season at home. The Rangers will. Both teams, though, do come here on that dreaded 3 games in 4 night situation. But the Rangers do have an advantage there because they didn't play yesterday and Seattle did. So they played Saturday, Sunday, off day, and then they played tonight. Seattle, hey, what can you say about them? They've been playing some fantastic hockey. 9 straight before yesterday's loss. And like what always happens, it seems, to teams that are on super runs, the old injury bug steps in and says, yeah, not so fast, guys, not so fast. Beniers got put on the IR yesterday. Dunn, I think Dunn, he's a defenseman, and he's their leading scorer, one of their leading scorers. He's day-to-day, probably won't play tonight. Burakovsky, same thing. He's day-to-day. So even if the last 2 guys play, they're not going to be 100%. The Cord played last night for them, and now they get Dreger and net. I think this is only going to be his second game in a few years, although he did play very well the first game that he actually got into the net. I think that's still an advantage for New York here. I really like New York to win this one in regulation. I'm going to just give you a little bit on the total if anybody wants to play the total here. I do lean under, even though Seattle got shut out yesterday. I usually don't like taking any unders after a team's been shut out because I think that they're going to put some goals in the net. Although, with all these injuries, it might be tough for Seattle to get some goals. You know, really, it will be tough, especially at MSG. I think it really will be tough for them. Thing is, the Rangers have been playing a bunch of overs. Seattle has been playing a bunch of unders. The 5 games between these 2 clubs, they've only played 5. And it's 4 unders, 1 over. Like I say, I lean under. I really don't want no part of it. I think the best play here is the Rangers in regulation.
Best way to get a good price as well on this one. And you know, when you look at a team like the Kraken, they were winning games and they were playing well defensively, but then they go ahead and get shut out, as you mentioned. I think it's a good point. Do you want to back a team after a shutout? Do you want to predict for them to bounce back? And one thing I'll say, though, is the Rangers goaltending has been so sporadic this year. Like one time they'll just have a really good performance, and then the next they'll just absolutely kind of have a little bit of a shaky start. Also, who's the number 1 guy right now in New York, guys? It's not Shesterkin, really. I don't know. Maybe it is. It's hard to say because I think that Shesterkin kind of got bumped to the side. Carm, what do you think about this matchup? Because I think that we're looking to see some goals here from New York and Seattle after their big streak. I kind of want to bet against them now.
Number 1, Andrew, is
there we go, Buster. There we go. We got him. We got him.
I wasn't on the screen as of yet. Okay, so I was drinking my tea and coughing. But anyways, with that said, Shesterkin's number 1. That's not going to change unless he dramatically goes into the tank. But you know, his numbers are pretty much like, even if you look at his splits, at home, he's 7-5 at home. His goals against average is just a touch over 3.03, and his save percentage is under 9, which is always a little bit troubling. But the Rangers have gotten into some higher scoring games at home, especially early in the season. They struggled last year as well too. In the road, he's 10-5, 267 GAA and a 911 save percentage. So, but he's the number one. You look at the teams that they've played. It's just because the Rangers were on a losing streak and the team just didn't show up in front of them. They lose 6-3 to Vancouver. Vancouver's embarrassed a lot of teams this season, putting up numbers. They lose to Carolina. Again, 6 goals in that one for him, but he's put in some solid performances. A goal against Washington, a goal against Tampa, a goal again against Washington. There's a lot of 1s and 2s on there. It beats the Leafs 5-2, beats the Bruins as well too, 2-1. So he's your go-to guy. And the fact that and I mentioned it, and I'm sorry to Raven Ron in our live chat, but I think you got to go against the Seattle in this one. They had a great run. The streak gets broken, and I just think from the intensity level, the next game out isn't always there, and it's a second of a back-to-back for Seattle. They've only played 2 back-to-backs this season, going 1-1. Average goals scored in those 2 games, 4.5 goals, so 9 total goals scored over the 2 games. Rangers have to be the play. It's just trying to decide how you want to play it, or you completely pass on it. But I will say this: the market on the Rangers has been moving since overnight, and even during this show, money has been coming in on the Rangers. You'll see it on WagerTalk's live lines, which are absolutely free. But it just went from minus 200. It opened at 195, then it went to 200, and now it's sitting at minus 220. Right now. And even the number at Circa, which I always say is one of the tougher books, in my opinion, is at 212. So even their number has gone higher across the board. So the Rangers money is coming in. Rangers are the play tonight. You just got to figure out how you want to bet it, whether you're going to take a puck line, whether you want to take the money line and take split the two, take the money line and the puck line, you bring it down to a -1, or you take the regulation. But the play's got to be the Rangers tonight.
Carm, whenever we're all three on the same page, I just think about you talking about Joe Ranieri just being back there ready to fade against us. And look, I mean, the fact is, I regretfully didn't really make enough following the Kraken. I think I bet on them like once during their big streak, and I'm disappointed in myself for that. But once a team gets off their streak, and they're playing a tough team like this, it's not like they get a chance to respond against the Blackhawks, right? It's not like they lose a game and then get a very, advantageous matchup immediately following that loss. They get a New York Rangers team, and this Rangers team is hungry as well. Look at some of the games they played recently. They're not happy. They actually have dropped some games, and I had a bunch of people that were super motivated to correct me, we'll say, yesterday in the PuckTime comment section. I did make a mistake that the Rangers went 1-1 over the weekend against the Capitals, not 2-0. And looking at some of the records for them, they give up goals to Montreal, give up goals to Vancouver, give up goals to St. Louis, as talked about. And I think that we've got a motivated team against maybe a team that comes into this one satisfied. I'm sure Seattle will not be happy after being shut out, but I like this Rangers team at MSG tonight. So I'm going to go with the Rangers. And also, it's interesting because we've been talking a lot more analytics on this show this season, I'd say, compared to past years, but of puck time. But one I look for is expected, a goals saved above average, goals saved above expected. To me, once you lose that streak a little bit, you kind of want to find your spots to go against it. Teams like Seattle were really relying heavily on goaltending. Like, I was debating with some people about their defense. Does Seattle have a good defense, or was their goaltending just really good? And, I think you could say maybe a little bit of both, but they were getting some really, really good goaltending, guys. So one thing about the Rangers right now, they're getting production from, their bottom guys. They're not really their bottom guys, but kind of their 6-7 guys. Like Lafreniere has finally started to come into his own. him and a guy like Quentin Byfield are really good examples of how you need to let players develop. Not every player can come into the league like Bedard or like Matthews or McDavid. And I mean, those are generational players, but and just do well right away. They need a few years. So looking at this Rangers team, I like their offense. I like what they bring to the table. And the only one that you didn't mention there, Carm, which I've been betting a lot, is these team totals. I'll go over 3.5 for the Rangers at a minus 110 price.
Oh, Andrew, I like it. Andrew, I got to ask this question, and it's to you guys, but I'm asking the chat. I want you guys to answer this. So, how you feel about this? So, during the weekend, I took the Rangers actually in both games against Washington. So in the first game, it's 2-1 heading into the third period, and they put up the stat on the TV. The Rangers are 16-5-2 when in the lead in the third period, and then they blow that game. Then they put up the stat again the next time the Rangers played, and the Rangers held on to this one. Yesterday, before I go out to watch the Bills game with some friends at a sports bar, the Vancouver Canucks, they put up a stat against, and I was just hoping for one more Columbus goal just to tie it up because I had the over 6.5, and they put up a stat. The Vancouver Canucks are 26-0 this season when leading after 2 periods of play, while Columbus ties it up and then wins it in a shootout. So on this show, I don't believe in mushes. All right. So anything they put up on a screen, I don't believe that will actually mush the play. I want you guys to answer because there are two different Carmine Biancos. There's the one on this show who says that stuff means nothing. Then there's the one who, with a pitcher of beer and a plate of wings in front of me, watching a football game at a bar where they put that stat up, I start to yell that these guys are going to mush the field goal kicker. He hasn't missed from inside 40 yards, and then he shanks it wide right like Scott Norwood did in the Super Bowl for the Bills. Do you guys believe in mushes? Andrew?
I mean, it happens more than you think it should. But no, but you know, I think that I believe in faulty numbers. I believe in like numbers that can be broken like that. I mean, what didn't you just mention? Who was it? Either the Rangers or I think you said the Kraken have only played like one back-to-back, right? So like or two, yeah. So I mean, like they're just using that as an example. We could mention, well, this Kraken team's been pretty good without much, without much rest, over a couple games, but the sample size isn't really there. With the Vancouver Canucks, with that, like that's a pretty good sample size, so it's hard to really argue that. But you know what, I have to say, as you know, Carm, I do play-by-play for universities. I have been the jinx. I haven't been a part of the jinx. I've been the jinx all the time. Like, this guy hasn't missed a free throw all game, and then he misses the free throw. Or this person hasn't missed a serve in volleyball all game, and then they miss it. So when I'm watching the TV at a bar like you, then I believe in it. If I'm at my computer handicapping, I don't believe in it. What about you, Buster?
All right. Fair enough.
Well, I'll tell you, as Carmine knows, I tend to have a little bit more of a belief in it, only because I've been watching this stuff for 40 years, and I've been watching these guys put this stuff on the board, and sure enough, it happens more than 50% of the time that when they put that kind of things up, the other thing happens. It surely does, and I'm sure everybody in chat will say, yeah, it happens all the time. And even yesterday, if the game with Romo and Jim Nance, somebody was kicking a field goal, I think inside 40, he hadn't missed all year, but Nance doesn't even say anything until he's already kicked it, and then he mentions it. And then Tony says to him, you waited, Jim? Because sure enough, those guys, you watch enough NFL football and hockey and those kind of stats come up, I always say to myself, okay, it means nothing, but sure enough, it seems to happen a lot. So
because the commentators will feel responsible. They don't want to feel responsible like it was their fault for missing the field goal. So he waited until after the kick was made. I don't blame him.
I'm not sure if these field goal kickers come back and say to Nance after, hey, why did you jinx me? But I'm sure probably a lot of them do. Maybe, I don't know. But yeah, there's definitely something there. There's no doubt about it. I'm not sure what. It might be bigger than all three of us, but there's definitely something going on when that happens.
A big one, Carm, would be shootouts too. Like, this guy is 70% this season with shootouts, and then he goes and misses the net or can't even hit the goalie. That stuff happens all the time too.
Yeah.
Let's get back on track here if you're ready here. Good to go.
Let's do it.
Leafs and Oilers. What a game for us to end off the show with the three of us that just love to make fun of this team. But we have to handicap it. We have to break it down. We have to look at it. And the funny thing is, this is a type of game that we see the best effort out of the Toronto Maple Leafs. Obviously, they've had back-to-back collapses, one of them being against Detroit, Johnny Detroit's Red Wings there, and one of them being against one of the league's best, the Colorado Avalanche. But we're seeing this Edmonton team that just crawled their way back from the basement. They were in the bottom of the league, Carm, and they worked their way up. Obviously, decent-sized favorites here, close to 150 at home. What are you taking on this one?
I have to believe that it's a good price on the Oilers, a good price on a team that they just set a record for the most franchise wins in a row. I believe when they beat the Montreal Canadiens 2-1. I know they were first back off a 3-game road trip, but minus 150 on a team that's won 10 in a row, playing extremely well. And yes, I get the Leafs get up for good teams, and but I just think to their core right now, there's something wrong with the Toronto Maple Leafs. I can't figure it out, Andrew. You look at their games, and they had that string where they lost to the Rangers, they lost to the Sabres, 5-2 and 9-3. They beat the Columbus Blue Jackets. That's no big thing, but they beat the Jackets. Then they proceed to lose to the Senators, Columbus Blue Jackets, and the Carolina Hurricanes. And they hit the road, and I thought they were going to do well on the road. And they did. They beat the Kings. But when you look back at it now, the Kings were a team that were mired or starting that losing streak and just not playing well, but just not scoring goals. The Leafs beat them. They beat the Ducks and the Sharks back to back. Ducks and Sharks are not world beaters. And just when you thought they had that level of confidence back, they blow a lead to the Rangers, to the Islanders, blow a 3-goal lead to Colorado, a team that they're supposed to get up for. And then they lose to Detroit, blowing yet another lead. So are you expecting this team to turn it around? You've got to get more than 130, plus 130 to want to take the Leafs in Edmonton. And I get it. The Leafs have some very good players on their team, but they are not playing as a cohesive unit. They're not playing a 200-foot game, because if you were playing a 200-foot game or you weren't getting out-coached every single night, it almost seems, you would find a way to win games in which you're leading 3-0, and they're not doing it. So the Oilers minus 150, I think, is the right play here. You're getting the Oilers at a good price, considering the fact that they've won 10 games in a row. And I get it, they're returning home, but they've had a couple of days rest from the trip from Montreal. Montreal to Edmonton is about a 2.5 hour flight, I have to believe, somewhere in and around there. So it's not East Coast to West Coast, because Edmonton is in Alberta. It's mid-Canada for you that are south of the border. So it is Oilers for me in this one. Buster?
Well, Carmine, I'll have a kind of different take on that. I actually think the number is a little bit high at 150. I know that, and because of what you mentioned, their first home game after a 3-game road trip. And like I say, you never want to step in front of a big streak, but if any time to do it, this might be the time. Again, I know Edmonton's won 10 straight. Those last 4 that they win, they beat Ottawa, Chicago, Detroit, and Montreal, all in tough games. Last 2 in overtime. I mean, good teams win those type of games. I get it. But we have a Leafs team here that are desperate. A Leafs team here that have won the last 7 of 10 against this Edmonton club. And a Leafs team here that are going to be playing their first road trip of a 4-game road trip that could have devastating results for one Mr. Sheldon Keefe. Finally, I would think, if they lose a bunch of games here. I think they're just again, I think it's a good spot for Toronto to maybe get away from that mess, start this trip right. Because if they don't win this game, you got to go Calgary, Vancouver, and Seattle. That's not going to be any fun at all. So I think it's very important for them. And getting 130, I think I think that's value to me. So again, we all look at games differently, but to me, I think that's value for a team in this situation, especially with Edmonton coming back off that road trip. Regardless if it's 2.5 hours, they still got to come home, see what's going on at the house. There's all that whole other things behind the scene for these guys. And that's why I always like to play these for years, any kind of big road trip. As far as the total here at 7, yeah, it's going to be a pass for me because we all know this game could be any type of game. I think Toronto has to somehow try to play defense. Can they? Or do they go out and try to play defense like they did in that first road trip that they went out west? They beat LA 3-0. I know it was a tough game, but they did. It was that first road game. And again, that's why I kind of like Toronto here because they've done it already recently. So again, as far as a total, this could be a 3-2, 3-1 game, or it could be a 5-4, 5-3 game. They could play, all out because these two teams have tons of talent and tons of scores. Edmonton, though, interestingly, have gone under in 5 of their last 7. And Toronto, they've gone under 5 of their last 8, which I find very interesting there as well. This is a 7, and I know we've been, not so much myself, but you guys do the show all the time, and I know you talk about some stats with Ralph with the about 7s, so about playing them unders and that. But it's funny also, the last 9 games between these two clubs, they went 5-4 to the under. And we could even go, it might be even 5-2-2, because I think a couple of those ones that I gave them credit for overs were landed on 7. I really want nothing to do with this total, but I think there's value on the Leafs in their first road game here.
All right, the gloves are off for the third game. Carm and Buster going head to head, the center of the ice.
Yeah, no, it's all good. I think Buster just mushed the Leafs because anytime Buster picks the Leafs, it's few and far between on those as a Montreal Canadiens fan. So he just mushed the Leafs. So you people in chat,
don't let everybody know what I'm doing.
Toronto, I was thinking, guys, I was thinking the Toronto to Edmonton flight times and not the Montreal to Edmonton flight times. Just because I made the trip out to Calgary a few times for poker tournaments in Calgary. So that's what I was thinking as far as the 2.5 to 3 hour flight times and stuff. So I stand corrected.
I was just messing around with you, Carm, and when I messaged you, I just remember when you know how it is, man. The comment section is ruthless. Whether it's about picks or whether it's about flight information, people will jump. Like everybody at one point in their life should know what it's like to do a show on YouTube and just say something wrong. Like people just love to jump into the comment section. Like it's just like they have to pause the video, go in there and correct. Like it's funny. But guys, kind of a unique bet for me, but this is what I liked in this game. Actually, I'm going to take both teams to score a goal in the first period at plus 120. I like the plus factor. A lot of times these 7s that do go under, we actually see a fast start. Then the game slows down a little bit. And it is so very strange about these 7s, the fact that they've gone under at such a big clip. But I think that Toronto, they're not a defensive team, guys. I mean, look, when they're at their best is when Matthews and those guys are flying around the ice and they're making plays. What they have to do is protect leads. They've done a great job so far of getting their leads. And look at this Edmonton team. I mean, how long has it been since they haven't scored a first period goal? I mean, for me, when I look at this club, the best part about them is how they catch teams off guard with their speed, with their chemistry. You put them in the power play, you better off just giving them a goal because they're that good out there on the PP. So both teams to score, you can get this at most shops. If you can't bet that, I would take a look at the over 1.5 or over 2 first period for this one. The 7 scares me, as Buster mentioned, but I do think we could see a lot of action between Toronto's struggles late in games, and they'll be definitely motivated in this game, and between Edmonton coming back from a road trip and playing this homestand here. I think we're going to see a goal here, quite a few goals, but in the first period. So both teams, the score in the first period is plus 120. That'll be it for me, guys. And want to mention two things. We still have that great promo deal going for myself and Carmine for a 7-day NHL pass. It's a buy one, get one for the exact same price as one. So you guys want to take advantage of that. And we're doing prop sides, totals, everything, you name it. We're calling it the face-off frenzy. Double the action, get all of us for one great price, or both of us, I should be saying. So you still can get that up until Friday, I believe. So lots of time to join, but you get this package and you'll get all of our best bets. This does include 5% plays as well. And I cannot forget about Buster. If you want Buster's plays, you want some great deals, use the promo code SUPER20. That works for all of us, but use it on Buster. Use this on us and use it on Buster for today because we don't have another deal for Buster. Look, SUPER20 will take 20% off any package from a 1-day all the way up until a 1-year package. So really like that promo deal we're running right now. And guys, we just always try and encourage you to join a little bit longer term. Don't judge us by 1 day, judge us by a couple days, 7 days, 30 days, so on and so forth. You get the message, but just wanted to let you guys know that that deal is still going and we still have that buy one, get one deal going. Carm, want to start things off with best bets?
Yeah, sure, Andrew. 3 plays up in NHL for tonight. You can get them over on my page at WagerTalk, and Andrew mentioned those deals. And I've already loaded for clients a 5% play in the NFL for this weekend. I'm just going to finish off the write-up, and then it'll be available for sale probably in about an hour, hour and a half on the site. So again, you can get that over on my page. I'm going to try and keep this streak going that we've been on with these show free plays at the end. And I'm going to go back to that first game we discussed, the LA Kings and Dallas. I'm going to take the over 6.5, not laying any juice on it. We're getting that even money. 14 straight for Dallas at home to the over, 19-4 overall for Dallas at home with their overs. And the Kings on back-to-backs, at least six goals scored. I get it. That's just the 6 is still under 6.5, but it is a higher number. And when you factor in what the Dallas Stars are doing as far as this streak goes, I'm going over here and I'm not paying any vig for it. So over 6.5, let's get it to 3-3. And then we don't care who wins after that. Guys, absolutely appreciate all your comments in the chat. As always, hit that like button. Let's get it over a couple hundred likes on this show. And Don Buster, tell us what you have up at WagerTalk and your show best bet.
Okay, thank you, Carmine. I'll be quick here. I have an NHL best bet of the night going tonight. Do not buy it. I have already gave it to everybody that watched PuckTime here. It's New York Rangers in regulation. So if you're watching this show, that is my best bet. So do not buy it. But do use Super 20, as Andrew said, and grab a 7-day all access NHL or for all access, or grab some NHL, grab a 3-day pass. But yes, my play is up there. I've gave it here. And also, I'm giving you another play I gave out to the clients for our show play, which is San Jose, Chicago over 5.5 minus 120. This opened at 6. It's now been bet down to 5.5. We like that, like being contrarian here. And I'm going with something that all three of us have talked about lots of times throughout the years on the show. 2 really bad teams like to play the over. And then they have some nice stats with them. Last 4 to 5 between the clubs have gone over. 6 out of the last 7 games in Chicago have gone over. We're going to go San Jose, Chicago over 5.5. As I always say, you can get to 6 very easily in today's NHL. As always, guys, appreciate you having me on the show on Tuesdays. Everyone in the chat and everyone watching, best of luck with all your plays. And as always, have a great day.
Well, I know you're always having a great day sipping the cervezas in the sun. Well, I've got some snow coming down to the left of me here, Buster. So best of luck to you, man. Over 5.5. You got to love those 5.5s. And for me, I'm going to the team total market, as you guys know. Again, a quick reminder to use that promo deal we have going on right now, myself and Carmine, the Frozen Frenzy special. pretty much 7-day NHL pass for both of us for the price of one. Definitely want to take advantage of it and get double the plays for 7 days. So use that, guys, and no promo code needed. Just go to our home pages and you can get that deal. I'm going to go with the Anaheim Ducks team total up and over 2.5 goals. 3-1 to this, their last 4 games, even in defeat. And they're playing the Washington Capitals, a team that I expect to slide quite a bit. A team that I have labeled that really was giving up so many defensive chances, giving up so many opportunities in their own end, was getting bailed out by good goaltending. And eventually, you cannot just rely on their goaltending. Eventually, those goals will start to fly in for their opponent. Last week, the Ducks were my sell team. Now we're finding a way to bet on them. Minus 105 for the over 2.5 goals, I think is a really good number for a team total tonight on this Anaheim Ducks team versus the Washington Capitals. So last night, it was a good start to the buy team with Vegas. Now we're going to fade the sell team with this Washington Capitals team. Great show here, guys. Lots of great games here on tap on Tuesday in the National Hockey League. Make sure you check out WagerTalk.com for all of our plays and packages. And please, on the way out, hit the like button if you enjoyed the video.